Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your hosts, special effects makeup artist supreme, Elena Morales, and your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Horror 421, the podcast. And today we have a very special guest with us. He's our first returning champion. We have movie director Tony Wash with us today. Hello, Tony.
How's it going?
It's going great. And as always, I have my beautiful and talented co-host with me, Elena Morales.
Hello, everyone. How are you today?
Everyone, I hope you're doing just well. But we're super excited to have Tony back on the show. Like I said, he's our first returning guest, and Elena's actually with us today, so she's going to be chiming in and asking Tony all kinds of questions. But I do want to give you a brief reminder. Tony has directed such films as It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To. He corrected me on the previous podcast because I had some bootleg Amazon copy, and I got the real deal right here, signed by the man. So you can go check him out at scotchworthyproductions.com and see what he's got out there. He also directed a movie called Skeletons in the Closet, one of my personal favorites. And I don't know if he has any more of these vinyls available. Hopefully he does. But this is an awesome soundtrack. So you guys, he'll give you all the information during the podcast on where you can find this stuff. But this is an amazing record. I write to it. It's pretty damn awesome. But anyway.
Good to hear.
I digress. Tony, thanks again for being on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me back. I like being the first repeat offender. That's pretty cool.
The first of many, hopefully.
Yeah. You just need to be present more often so that we're not doubling up the conversation just so that you can be, clued into what we talk about.
I feel really bad about that. This is just making me feel a lot worse than I already feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like half your other podcasts, you've got like 3 people in your room with you, and it's like, and you wouldn't even show up for my recording. That was just sad.
I was there at work, and I was like, "Hey guys, got a podcast. I gotta go." And they're like, "Well, this is what happened." And I was like, "Okay, guess not leaving anytime soon." And it was not a good day.
And in fairness to Elena, she does work in the medical field, and it got kind of hairy for her that day. But we pressed on. So
yeah. It was still a good time. I had a lot of fun. That's why I'm glad to be back. I really enjoyed talking to you, Charles, and hopefully Elena brings some more questions to the table and different dynamic to the conversation today. Although I got to say, Charles, I went to your website to reciprocate the generosity and tried to pick up one of your books, and all you have on there for payment is PayPal. You can't use a credit card on your website. Did you know that?
Oh. No, I didn't know that.
The same issue.
Yeah, well, I thought you could use it through PayPal, a credit card through PayPal.
Well, you can. So the problem that I have is I tried to do it while I was at work the other night, and since I just moved, PayPal is literally the only thing that I haven't updated my address on, because when you go into PayPal to update your address, you have to update every single credit card that you have linked to your PayPal for the billing address, and half of the credit cards I don't carry in my wallet, so I have to come home. Now that I'm home, I got to go in and find all my old credit cards, update.
Well, that's all right. I'll go in and put another payment method in there. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Why are you making everybody's life hard, Charles? What are you doing?
Hey,
what are you doing,
hey,
man?
zip it, you.
What is this, man? My face is on your website, sir. We need to fix this problem.
That's the book I'm going to buy. I talked with Donnie, our good friend Donnie, this weekend. He was up in Chicago at the Days of the Dead convention, and so we sat and bullshitted for a while, and he was finishing up Midnight Rider, and I'm like, so which is your favorite of Charles's books? Because I'm buying one. I just haven't bought it yet. And he said, get the short story anthology. That one's really good. So that's the one I'm going to buy.
Well, awesome. Yay. Awesome. Well, I'll look at updating the payment method, and I'll message you when I get that done. So
thank you. And if not, I have to update my PayPal anyway. I just wanted to give you shit about it because I was like ready to support you. I was gearing up, and then no, can't do it.
Oh man. Oh well. All right. Fair enough. But
I gotta say, Elena, I love that you have the Beetlejuice light back there. Super cool.
That is I cannot tell you how much hell I went through to get that. I had went to about 10 different Spirit Halloweens, and I kept seeing it on the website, and they kept telling me, it's in stores now, in stores now. Every fucking store I went in did not have it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to order it online. Well, I ordered it online, delivered it somewhere else. Then I had to order it again. It was a mess. But when I got it, it was very, very nice.
You know, it's easy to go to 10 different spirit stores because there's literally a spirit store every block.
Yeah.
It's like a Walgreens. I don't know if you guys have Walgreens where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're literally.
I have 5.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah, but they also have different stuff in each one. So it's kind of a different experience in each one. So you're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But they have a sandworm I want to buy this year.
We're excited because now that we have our house, we've been wanting to throw a big Halloween party because we're both Halloween nuts. And this is like the last 2 years being in the townhouse, we haven't been able to have a nice Halloween party. So we're so excited to finally have a space to do that. That's Although, awesome. Lord knows I don't have time to decorate for Halloween because I'm probably still going to be doing projects around my house. Because that's all I do now is work on the house instead of movies and stuff like that. But it's all good.
Well, before we got, before you came on, before the podcast started, I was telling Elena, I'm almost done pressure washing my house, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Going around the,
I got to do that.
Townhouse.
That's easy. You don't have
HOA does it. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah, I literally just ordered about an hour ago, Charles. I just ordered nozzles for my power washer because I need to get some and power wash my deck tomorrow. So.
There you go.
Cheers.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did we ever notice that our lives are going to come to talking about the housework that we have to do? How fun are we? Reminiscing about Blockbuster and becoming adults. Awesome.
Yeah, that's
great.
Anyways, let's talk about horror stuff.
All right, my friend. I wanted to ask you. So, Tony, honey, when you were growing up, was there a certain TV show or horror-themed movie or horror book that you saw makeup on, and that was your calling? You just knew right then. Like, what was one of those films that you just saw and were just blown away, and you said, "I'm gonna do that. That is what I want to do."
Well, I started with the black and white horror films. That's all my mom would let me watch when I was really young. We're talking like 5, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. The Thing from Another World was always my favorite. Which is great because one of my top 3 movies of all time is John Carpenter's The Thing. So it was really great to be able to see the progression of kind of that story, how he evolved it to the remake that he did in the 80s. And obviously that would be a go-to answer for special effects makeup that just blows your mind. Rob Bottin is just a god when it comes to practical effects work, but I didn't see The Thing until I was in high school. I worked at a video store and I worked with this guy who I was like 15 and this guy was in his 20s and he's like, seeing me rent, Halloween for the 100th time while I'm working there or whatever. And he's like, well, shit, if you like horror movies, have you ever seen this and this and this? And, showed me Prince of Darkness and The Fog, which I'd never seen, which is crazy. And The Thing, because you look at the cover of The Thing and you look at the cover of The Fog and look at the cover of Prince of Darkness, and they're not really appealing covers. And that's what, as a kid, drew me to movies. So ultimately, I watched all that stuff in high school. But before that, the first color horror films that I saw that probably just got me into the genre was House. Trying to think of what else, like Friday the 13th Part 4. I had that on a VHS tape that I copied off of TV, and my mom found it and put it on top of the refrigerator. Every time she would go out for the night, I would like climb up on a chair and grab it and watch it,
Well, so. I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous podcast. If I did, just stop me. But you said Friday the 13th Part 4, and I was a kid too at the time, and I was in love with those movies. And it came out at the theater, and it was playing at a small theater in Aiken, South Carolina. And I called my dad on the phone, and I'm like, Dad, I said, you've got to take me to see this movie. He was like, what are you talking about? I said, Friday the 13th Part 4. It's the final chapter. They're never making another one ever. 27 movies later, but yeah.
Out of all of the horror movie franchises, him and Chucky are my least, like, I have a hard enough time sleeping as it is. I don't want somebody to like come at me in my sleep. That's like, that freaks me out. That always bothered me on the inside.
You think Jason?
Oh wait, no. Why did I just think Friday? Wow, I'm tired. I'm sorry, y'all. I just mixed up Nightmare on Elm Street with Friday the 13th. I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
I'm doing
did.
in my head. Sorry.
Elena,
My head
come
is
on
like,
now.
wow. Scrambled
Jason,
eggs up here, you know?
Jason greater than Freddy. I'm a
But I do
Jason
have a
fan.
Jason tattoo. Sorry. I don't know why I did that to myself.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Jesus.
I don't find Jason even remotely scary, but I'll tell you, those movies, even though it's literally the same thing over and over and
Yeah.
over, I absolutely love the Friday 13th franchise. We all grew up on them. I was born 1980, so being a kid in the 80s, Jason and Freddy were like, they were like Mickey Mouse in the 80s, especially Freddy Krueger. And so, and that's back before there was really a lot of merchandising for horror.
Oh yeah.
Whereas now, it's everywhere. I wish I would have jumped on that bandwagon a hell of a lot sooner than I did, because there's a lot of money to be made for all that merchandise. But anyways, um, it's to have been a kid in the 80s and be raised on those types of horror films with the practical special effects where they were really kind of coming into their own. Like I said, movies like The Thing and even action movies. You look at the other Rob Bottin stuff like Total Recall. That movie's just got insane special effects in it, and even like Explorers with River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke. He did all the alien makeups in that and stuff. Obviously, The Howling, he did the Howling makeup, and those werewolves are. I like those better than American Werewolf in London. So.
Oh, don't break my heart. I love that movie.
Oh, I do too. American Werewolf in London, the transformation scene is awesome, and the way that they coordinated the monster movements is really fascinating to me. Like how for example, when the guy's in the subway being chased, and they show that shot from the top of the escalators, and the werewolf is just crawling.
That's a great shot. Yeah.
It's just a guy with a torso and the head of the werewolf, and he's doing the wheelbarrow walk with somebody holding his legs behind him, and they cut the shot before you get to his crotch and see that it's just a dude with a torso of fur. And I'm like, that's the type of ingenuity that movies used to have. And I'm not saying they don't anymore. It's just you had to really think about that shit because you didn't have CGI to save you when you had those problems, and it's just, that's cool stuff. But
I prefer
very
that
well
over CGI. CGI, you can do a lot of cool stuff, obviously, but the practical effect aspect of it and making sure that the makeup was on point for every single damn scene you had to do because you had to do that is so much more impressive to me as an artist, though, because that's just so fascinating to me, especially like you said with the movements and stuff that people have to do with the fluidity and studying everything in the motion. It's just so much more interesting that they had to do that.
What fascinates me when we talk about special effects, which I figured you were going to steer a lot of the conversation in that direction since you're an effects artist as well. The really interesting thing to me is the evolution of creature design. Like if you look back to like monster movies in the 50s, it's like I understand that those filmmakers and special effects artists were not going to create these really elaborate makeups because they were working with like Elmer's glue and shit like that. They didn't have silicone and stuff like that to work with. And so I completely understand why those monsters were as rudimentarily designed as they were. But when you get to like the 70s, even though that's still pre-silicone, there was still latex in the 70s and stuff. And so you think about the work that Tom Savini was doing in like Dawn of the Dead and whatnot. It's cool and everything for the time, but I'm just surprised that like you look at something like the Silent Hill movies or, Pan's Labyrinth or whatever, where you have them saying, okay, well, why do we have to make this character designed structurally like a human being with arms and legs and a head? Why don't we have, his head be up here and we're just going to put him in a bigger suit and, or we'll change his arms around or whatever. And, we'll have him crawl backwards like the spider walk in Exorcist. I don't understand why they never thought to do that 20 years prior to when they started all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just always, anything that deals with special effects is always so interesting to me. I just like the process of it all.
It's a long process, that's for sure.
Very long process, but
yeah,
super intriguing.
Yeah.
As far as like, I think my biggest inspiration as a kid, because I've said it like 8 times on this podcast, but it's still interesting to me. I watched the making of Thriller on a loop every day as a kid, like 5 times a day. And my mom found it the other day. She goes, "Do you know how many times you watched this as a fucking kid? And you irritated the shit out of me. And you always like scared, but you wanted to do it and watch it. So you watched it." And I did. And I just was like, I'm going to do that one day. I want to do that. I want to make the werewolf. Like, I want to do that. That is what I want to do. And then they went into the conversation of how they made, American Werewolf in London, and had the guy who directed that movie and was behind a lot of that. So I just remember watching that, and I was just utterly fascinated at the whole process it took even to direct the movie, make the makeup. It was just so cool. I just was like, I want to do that. And I'm there.
If you still have that VHS tape, you should get that from your mom. That'd probably be a pretty cool thing to have, although you probably don't have a VCR.
I do actually have one. I need to test to see if it still works, though, because I actually kind of still prefer VHS.
It's great to go to a Goodwill and find old horror tapes. I mean, not that I need any more shit in my house because I've got so much stuff already, but I still have a lot of my VHSs, and they've been in boxes for the last 7-8 years because I've just not had the space for them. So
yeah,
another great spot to find VHS tapes of all genres: flea markets.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any flea markets where you're at, Elena, but we've got this humongous one.
We have a few. Actually, my friend Amadeus, he gets a lot of cool horror stuff too. If you're actually a horror nerd, that's actually some of the best places you can find like old school magazines. He got me this frame thing of the Monster Doritos things that were out a long time ago. So I have those randomly in my house for no reason because he got them for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when your friend knows you like horror stuff, they get you just anytime they find something horror, they're like, "Oh, I thought of you,"
And we get him Frankenstein for anything. They always get me anything that deals with Tim Curry, obviously, as you can tell. I think he got me a which was really hard to find. It was the callback vinyl of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm.
And it had it nowhere else. And I said, I need that. I'm going to pay you for it. Here's the money. Just buy it. And then I ended up at Days of the Dead and got the book with all of the actual guidebook that went with it as a random find. So,
oh, nice.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I love Tim Curry too. I'm excited because we, Bloody Disgusting, we run Screambox now, and we got that Pennywise documentary that's on the making of the 1990 miniseries.
That is, yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited.
Access to the Roku channel, correct?
No, so I don't know if Pennywise is going to be on the Bloody Disgusting TV channel, which is on Roku. But we also run Screambox, which is subscription based, similar to Shudder. And so that's something where you can get, if you have my Instagram or my Facebook, I took a picture last weekend at the convention of the postcard that has a QR code on it. You can get 30 days for free. And I don't know when Pennywise is premiering on Screambox. I want to say in the next month. We just played it at Panic Fest in Kansas City 3 weeks ago, maybe. But I'm really excited to see that. So.
I'm excited too. You definitely got a new subscriber in me. I'm going to go check that out.
He's typing in it as he speaks.
Hey, I subscribe to Shudder and I watch a lot of stuff on there, but and I started checking out the Bloody Disgusting channel on Roku just because of Tony in the last podcast. So to refresh our listeners, kind of tell them your involvement with Bloody Disgusting and what you do for them as far as programming.
So I've been friends with Brad and Tom, who have run Bloody Disgusting since its inception, I think in 2003 or 2004. I've known him since 2009. And so we just always kind of talked and whatnot. And then in 2016, I brought them this concept called World of Death, which is a web series that we created, my co-producer, Jim Peterson, and I. And we basically went around and collected horror films, short films from all over the world. And we ran over 500 movies and represented over 50 countries with World of Death over the course of, I think, 4.5 years of being on the air, which we ran through Bloody Disgusting's YouTube channel. And so from that, then, when they created Bloody Disgusting TV with Cinedigm, who is the company that ultimately bought Bloody Disgusting, they started that in 2020. And so they said, well, hey, Tony, do you want to create a new evolution of World of Death? Let's call it Bloody Bites. And so we have a 30-minute TV show that airs like a dozen times each week. Well, I guess it would be like 36 or 40 times each week because in an 8-hour block, I schedule it a dozen times for each, day, but then that block runs 3 times a day. So anyways, that's all the boring shit. Um, so I do that. I curate Bloody Bites, and which is pretty cool because it gives me an opportunity to talk to filmmakers from all over the world. And I've collaborated with a number of them over the years because of this community that we've built. So that's really exciting. And I'm glad that Bloody Disgusting has kind of helped me perpetuate that and get these filmmakers out there for more people to see. And then I also program the channel. So the 24/7 programming that you would see if you turned it on through your Roku is what I do, which is awesome because I literally get to sit at my computer and I can listen to music. I can have Bloody Disgusting TV on in the background, and I just build the 24-hour playlist, and I throw all sorts of the stuff that I loved growing up, like Galaxy of Terror and Piranha and
and I've noticed that. I've actually had it on and just in the background, like you said, if I'm sitting here writing or whatever, it's playing on the television. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Tony programmed that. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it.
Do you have anything to do with the Bloody Disgusting podcast stuff?
So we have one of the
Diecast?
podcasts, Boo Crew. They do video podcasts, and so I program those on the channel. I've talked about starting a podcast, which multiple times they've said, do it, let's get it going. And I just haven't done it because I got so many other things going on.
Yeah.
I would love to. It's just, the part of it to me is like, there are so many podcasts, as you guys know, that it's difficult to, get out there and break into it. And as much as having the support of a Bloody Disgusting network behind me, I think I would get a decent, listenership if I got something started. It's just I would want it to be good, and I would be afraid that if I don't put enough time into it, I need to buy all the nice shit like you guys have. I don't have a nice microphone. I literally have my computer microphone and no headphones.
Dustin got that for me because of the podcast, because I know nothing about technology, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. I know nothing. And he comes home with this, and I was like, what is this? Oh my God, it's so intimidating. I don't know what to do with it. Has too many buttons. I was like, there's buttons? I don't know.
Yeah.
That is why I don't direct things. I just work.
Yeah.
Run my business.
Oh my goodness.
But I do want to say, because of what you do, a lot of filmmakers and small horror filmmakers, it's so awesome that you are able to give them a voice to be heard in a place and a format to put their stuff and bring, their life's work to fruition. It's just amazing that you guys are able to get so many small horror names out there, because my friend, he works so hard at what he does, and it's so hard to get your name out there and show people stuff. So it's just cool that you're doing that for them.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that, and it's that really just comes from me having been in the business for 16 years at this point, and seeing kind of where I've come to this point. I'm not making multi-million-dollar movies. I don't live in a mansion and have everybody ask me for my autograph, because there are so many people out there that are making movies, especially horror movies at the independent level, that it's just very difficult to get yourself known in the community. And so I've always thought myself to be more personable than some of the weird filmmakers that you'll meet that don't know how to talk to anybody. And it's like, how did you make a movie? You can't talk. And nothing's wrong with that. Some of those people are the most talented people out there. It's just the ability to communicate, is so important in my opinion. And I was a bartender for a long time, so I feel like I've got the gift of gab, and so I wanted to try and use my love of horror and my ability to talk to people to just kind of create a community, and this was the perfect opportunity. And Bloody Disgusting is such a household name for horror at this point that
it is.
There are other companies out there like Alter and Crypt TV that do a really good job, and even Shudder now is really, I think, because of the pandemic, there was such a shortage of content made by studios because SAG and all the other unions have such strict COVID regulations now that all these independent films are like in demand, which sucks that I don't have like 2 features waiting for distribution like I did 3 years ago before the pandemic. because I probably would have made a bunch of money off of selling them. But those people are now getting such a great opportunity, especially short films and stuff. But I'm glad that because of the name that Bloody Disgusting has, the reputation that it has, that people want to be a part of what we're doing with Bloody Bites and with the channel and Screambox. And so yeah, it's just a really cool opportunity. And it's, I don't want to say it's effortless because it takes time and it does involve a lot of work, especially talking to all these different filmmakers. But it is almost effortless because of the fact that I don't have to seek out filmmakers to find content. They typically bring it to me because they want to be a part of what we're doing, and I think that's awesome.
That is amazing.
horror
Bloody
community is
Disgusting
just
has a
so-
name, and they've been out there for a while, and I'm excited about Screambox. I'm definitely going to subscribe to that. So listeners, subscribe to Screambox. We're going to check it out, see what's coming, especially the It documentary. I'm excited
If y'all
about
hear
that.
that, I'm sorry. I don't know what my neighbors are doing.
I don't
It's
hear
really
anything.
loud,
I don't
but I'm
hear
not a
it.
fan.
But one other thing before Elena jumps in with her next question is, tell us about Days of the Dead in Chicago. It's been a minute since you've been to a convention, if I'm correct. So tell us how that went for you. Who did you see?
Yeah, I mean it was pretty cool. I haven't done a convention since Atlanta Days of the Dead in 2020, right before COVID hit, and I I knew I missed it, but I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Yeah.
Just being surrounded by other people that love the horror genre as much as I do, you have that kinship to those people, and there's nothing I love more than bullshitting horror. And I'm very fortunate to have a wife that not only tolerates horror as much as she's forced to digest it because of me, but she actually enjoys horror movies, and that's part of why we started dating in the first place, because we had that connection. But she's by no means a horror nerd like I am, and so it is sometimes it's like you just have to have that camaraderie, like I have with Donnie, for example, where Donnie's been posting for, this is our mutual friend, obviously, that Charles and I have, and Donnie has been posting for the last 2 months. This is my countdown to going to Days of the Dead Chicago, and so it's just really great to run into him and hang out with him on Friday and Saturday and just talk about horror movies. It was cool to be within like 2 feet of William Catt and George Wendt, because as I said, one of the first color horror films I ever saw was House. And so, at one point George Wendt walked right past me and he was wearing a Walter Payton jersey. And, it's just cool to see him kind of, being in the, because was he in that Saturday Night Live skit? Was he in the Bears?
Yeah.
Balls, balls,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He was a mainstay on there.
Yeah, so it's just so they were really cool. It was awesome to see, and I'm not one of those. I'm not one of the people that goes to the conventions and spends all my money on autographs. I don't need somebody's autograph to feel some sort of validation, and I understand why people do that. I don't have enough money. I'd rather buy material objects, or than go and like decorate my house with stuff, than spend $50 to get someone to sign something and look up at me once and say thanks, and then take my money and go to the next fan.
My first ever horror signature came from Days of the Dead. It was Sid. It was Sid Haig, and it was the year before. It was the same year he passed, and that actually hurt me in my entire soul.
Yeah.
I didn't know that something like that existed as far as a horror convention, because I was the closet horror nerd. I was at home watching the horror stuff. I was always watching Jason. Yes, I know my movies. Sorry, y'all. I messed up earlier. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, and I had to closet that a little bit. And then, when Dustin and I got together, I realized there were so many conventions. And like you said, with the camaraderie with everyone. Because every fan that goes there is a legitimate, true horror nerd that, they read the comics, but everybody is so nice to each other and supportive and outgoing, and everybody can share that moment. But going back to Sid, I remember doing that, and he was the nicest person I've probably ever met, as far as someone who signed something for me. He talked to you for a while. It was so funny complimenting him. We were like, "We really love all the stuff you do," and he's like, "Thanks." It was just cute.
Yeah, he was an incredible person. I loved working with him. I loved, gaining the respect of him as a director. Has to be probably the largest accolade that I give myself personally as a filmmaker. Because, he's somebody who was in the business for the better part of 50 years and, worked with some amazing talents over the years from, Spider Baby and all the Jack Hill stuff that he did and Roger Corman and, and some of the people that he starred alongside. He was in a James Bond movie, for Pete's sake. I mean, that's insane to me that then him in his, early 70s or late 60s was, on a set with me and was listening to me tell him what to do. And the way that we worked together was just, it was a really special experience at the time. I'm very glad that he was able to see the movie before he passed. Cause it took us, the better part of 7 years to put the film together in post-production and get some shots added to it and re-edit it and all this stuff. And it finally came out in 2019. And then he, obviously passed, I think that September or something.
And I absolutely love that movie, by the way. I don't know why I love that High on the Hog. So I love that.
And I finally watched it. I do
Thank
like
you.
it quite a bit.
Thank you for finally getting him to watch this movie like I've been begging him to do for forever now.
You know what? Charles is a huge fan. I mean, everything I've told him to do, he goes and does. So right. I'm not going to give him shit at all.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Damn, I see how it is. All right.
I mean, he's literally, I know he's got skeletons. He bought the soundtrack. He's got 2 copies of It's My Party. I don't know. He's got the rake because he bought that.
The rake.
Yeah. He had to go through all those hoops with Amazon to get the right DVD.
No, I didn't. Tony set me straight on the right DVD. I got it from him. I bought the bootleg from Amazon, and he told me, he said, "Dude, no, don't get that there. Get it."
It was so funny how quick you were. You were like, "Hey, go ahead and trash that. Return it. They have free returns. Get the one that I have because that's the right one." So
he's
I don't
right.
talk about the other one.
and he signed this one, so I got his signature on here with a little nice message. So,
and I've only got 1 copy of that. I have 1 copy left. So not that I can't reprint it, but I was thinking about doing a new edition because I released it 15 years ago. This year, it came out in 2007. So I thought about doing like a 15-year anniversary, but on top of everything else I'm doing right now, I don't know if I'll
got a lot going on.
Plus, my wife would be the one to design the new cover, and she has no time either because she's busy running her business. And because
in our last talk in the podcast, you took it apart a little bit because you said it was a little outdated or whatever. But I'm telling you, people, it's a great horror movie. It's a fun horror movie. And this edition that he only has 1 copy of, but this edition in particular, you can pick your own ending. He's got like several different endings, and they're all wild. So,
those are the movies that I like.
Yeah, I know. It's an awesome concept. So, choose your own adventure. So, I definitely check that out. I loved it.
I was a sucker for those books as a kid. Choose your own horror adventure books. Man, I had so many.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I like the Space Vampires one. That's the one that I had that I read front to back 100 times. And, we try and skip around and figure out like which was the best route to take before reading it completely. It's like, I don't want to go to this page if there's only a half a paragraph, because I know I died. I need to go to the other option and cheated. That's how shitty of a kid I was. But yeah, when they created DVDs and I learned how to use like DVD Studio Pro, and whatever other burning programs there were, it's like you realize that you can create menus with multiple tangents off of a menu through a DVD player. And I was like, well, shit, why don't I just do that with the movie? And, it was a very interesting concept because the actresses in the movie, they never knew what scene we were shooting because they had no idea what was going on. Because It's like in one scene they're dying and then in the next scene they're still alive. And they're like, wait a minute, how's that work? I'm like, it's choose your own adventure. One route you die, the other route you keep going, and you might die 5.
Wake up again. You didn't die.
Yeah.
You didn't die. Just wake up.
So yeah, it was really cool. It gave me a chance to do some fun stuff too. I think I said this the last time I was on the show talking about just, again, I'm a kid of the 80s, so I'm a product of 80s horror. And 80s horror, it's sex, and blood and guts. That's what sells a horror movie. And so I am.
You almost said it. Nudity.
Yeah,
plenty of nudity.
yeah.
In
So
there.
I'm a
Titties.
traditionalist in that regard. I think that's what horror movies should have. And so when we did It's My Party, before I went and did all these reshoots and got additional footage of it because we needed nudity in the movie and more death scenes. And that's when we got the Tom Savini cameo, was all after I shot principal on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I had this one actress, and then actually a friend of mine's wife who was a exotic dancer. I'm not going to say who because I don't know. But anyway,
we don't need these problems on this podcast, man. Don't come for us. Come for Tony, man.
I mean, she was damn proud of it, and she should have been. It's like if you got it, you might as well use it. But
Jesus knew what he was doing. I'm just saying.
So I had this one actress who had tried out for the movie and was willing to be topless, and then I had my friend's wife who was an exotic dancer, and we're like, all right, well, we need to put nudity in this. There's really no spot for nudity, and I'm not one of those. I don't really feel comfortable directing a sex scene.
Yeah,
it's just weird to me. So I was like, but I'm willing to do a shower scene. I'll do whatever. I'll show a guy walking around with his dong hanging out. I don't care, because I know that the women and whatever want to see that too. There needs. My friend Katie has a comment. I forgot what it is. If she listens to this, she'll laugh. It's like a dong quotient or something like that. I don't remember. So it's like I'm fine with any of that. And so we're like, okay, well, these two girls are willing to get topless. What can we do? And so we did this one choose your own adventure. It's actually an Easter egg on the DVD that you have to find. And there's like this scene where there's these two zombies that are topless, and it's silly and it makes no fucking sense, but it was fun, and it's an Easter egg. So it's one of those things that some fans are like, oh, wait a minute, there's a topless scene of these zombie women, and it's like, where do I find it? And I'm like, you got to look for it. So then you got all these people like looking around trying to find it on the DVD, and it's.
Well, I'm gonna step away from the podcast for a minute. Let me keep going, because
are you dying laughing right now? Like
I got to find zombie titties.
I was about to say, like, what are you about to go do, bro?
It's gonna take you longer than a minute to find it,
right? I mean, I don't know what he's doing. Pee Wee Herman in it over there.
Hey, ho, hey.
Just kidding. But going back to the 80s rule, my mom, if we ever have an episode, I would love to watch a Jason movie with my mother, because it's the best experience you will ever have watching this movie. I would invite my friends over because it's a whole different. She goes, oh, her tits are out again. She's about to die. You get stoned, you boned, and you showed your cones. You're about to die. Okay, that's the rule. You have to die.
Stoned?
So literally, yep. She goes, you got stoned, you boned, and then you showed your cones. You're out. You're dead. Immediately dead. Did you just say you'll be right back? Oh, God, she's dead. Immediately dead. But yeah, like, that's just the rule, and no one knows that rule. I'm like, there has to be titties or it's not a horror movie. There has to be a pair of boobs, man.
Yeah, and obviously nowadays the world is such a different place than it was 40 years ago, and so I understand that there's a different sentiment towards nudity and sex and sexuality and all that, and it's like we don't need to get political about any of this stuff, but that's just, I don't know. I feel like that's what made horror movies fun. That's what made them scandalous to me as a kid. I wanted to watch it because it's the shit I wasn't allowed to watch, Yeah. And nowadays it's like you watch a horror movie and I know there's people out there that love like Hereditary or Midsummer, but it's like I watch it and I'm like, okay, this is 90 minutes of people talking and being scared of shit that's not even there, and then the last 2 minutes you get like someone cuts their tongue or something and you're like, oh my God, blood, and then like the movie's over and I just don't get it.
Petrified. Also entertained with a slight comedic value to it, Gotta have all of it. Because Midsommar, I was sitting in the movie theater, I'm like, when the fuck is something going to happen, number one? Number two, this is just pissing me off because it's slow and I hate everyone in this movie. There's not one likable character, but that's a whole nother tangent.
Yeah.
But speaking of deep cut horror movies that are absolutely ridiculous, Rocktober Blood.
Yeah.
I watched that finally and I laughed so hard because he made that phone call and he's like, I want your wet hot. I don't even want to say it, blood or something. Yeah. It was so funny.
That was a guilty pleasure movie for a little while with my co-director Ben on Skeletons in the Closet. He also edited High on the Hog, and we used to hang out and we would watch that movie. And I don't even know why we did, because that movie's god awful. But
it's so bad.
I think,
Charles, you have to watch it. It's on Shudder. You have to take the time.
I'll check
and
it out.
everybody in the movie, I swear to God, is from Marietta, Georgia. I about died. I was like, "Where are you from, darling? Like, why are you talking like this?"
I love the theme song though, from the opening of the movie when they're playing that. Oh no, though, what when you least expect it, I'll sing.
Oh, and I'm back.
And I'm back. Yeah, it's a good song. I love it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
As much as it's silly, it's just one of those good ones. It's a cheery good time.
You know, it's interesting to me because that subgenre should be built upon more. The rock and roll horror movie, or the metal horror movie. You know, you think about like Blood and Roses. You think about Rocktober Blood. What's the other one?
Is the Blood and Roses one the one where the kids started going to the concert, and they kind of turned into weird?
It's basically Footloose, but a horror movie. Yes.
Yeah. Then there was
Rock and Roll Nightmare is the other one I was thinking of.
What? There's another one.
Which is like the end of Rock and Roll Nightmare is like it's like a puppet, like it's like the guy. I think it's the lead singer. I've only seen it once, but I think it's like the lead singer of the band is like fighting this like the devil or this demon, and all it is like a puppeteered like fucking like fun noodle guy, you know, and he's like just terrible. It's like a
inflatable arm flailing like you, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a ghoulie, but like 8 feet tall. It's just so dumb, you know. You've never seen Ghoulies, you should do yourself a favor.
That's a good one. Yeah. It's a classic. You have to have seen that.
The first.
There's so many movies people don't know about. I'm like, you haven't lived, man. Like, if you haven't seen Monster Squad, come on.
I tried to get a Stephen King Rules T-shirt from the convention. The guy.
I got it for him. I can get you one. I will literally order it for you and send it to you.
I mean, that's cool.
I know where to get it. I will literally get it and send it to you. Just need your size, man.
Yeah, he was out of large. I was like, do you have any large of the Stephen King Rules? Which, if you haven't seen it, there's a great play off of that. Charles would appreciate it. There's one that says Dean Koontz isn't bad either, or something like that, which I think is awesome. So, because I love Dean Koontz more than I think.
You know what's funny is I've never read any of his books. I'm such a Stephen King nerd that I am, but I want to read Funhouse. I think that's my first start one.
That's the first Koontz book I read.
That's what Charles said, yeah.
But everybody either loves it or hates it. It gets a weird balance.
You can tell when you read it, and I haven't read it. I mean, it's been years and years since I've read it, but looking back on it, I can kind of tell, you know, it's early in his writing career, so it's not as full-fledged and developed as things become in his later books. It's just a fun horror story is what it is. So from what I remember, it's been many, many years since I've read that book, but that was my first Koontz book, and I quite enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy his Frankenstein? I think he did a Frankenstein.
Did you do a couple? So you did a few?
There was about 3, and then they made him into graphic novels as well, I think.
Well, I skipped those. I didn't read those.
Because I keep seeing it, because I go to the secondhand bookstore, and I always find that one, and I'm like, dang, I need to buy this, but I don't know.
The last Dean Koontz book I read was Mr. Murder, so I haven't read a Koontz book in probably 20-something years, but Charles and I talked about last time, in my recommendation, you should read Whispers or Watchers.
Mm-hmm.
Watchers is literally my favorite book of all time.
You said Whispers or Watchers?
Yeah, those are my two favorite. He's got a lot of others that are good too. Strangers is good. Face of Fear is good. The Bad Place is good. Dragon Tears is really good too.
The last Koontz book that I can remember reading was called, and this was recently, it was one of his older books. It was called The Taking, and I was really enjoying that book. I got 3/4 of the way through, and I was looking at the page count, and I'm like, how he's going to wrap all this shit up in 40 pages? There's no fucking way he's going to wrap this story up. So I'm thinking, is there a part 2 to this or whatever? And I go look online, I don't see a part 2, and I'm like, I'm starting to get worried. I'm like, how is he going to wrap all this shit? He's got all kinds of stuff hanging out there toward the end of this book. And then I read the last 30, 40 pages, and it kind of pissed me off because everything was resolved, but you didn't know exactly how it was resolved. And I'm not going to say anything about the plot or anything in case anyone wants to read it, but I'm like, dude, did somebody just fucking tell you got to finish this book and we got to put it out there? I mean,
That's what I felt when I read Joe Hill, his heart-shaped box.
Oh yeah.
The last about 10% of the book, I was pissed, and I said, "So did anybody have to go to therapy or no? I kind of need to know because this just doesn't seem like something you can come back from." Okay, like somebody went to therapy, and I need to know.
Well, the taking was so well paced, and it gave a strong opening. Which, as a writer, I like a strong opening to pull you in. And then, I mean, everything was like suspenseful throughout the whole thing. And then, as a writer, I'm reading it. I'm going, how is he going to wrap all this shit up? There's no way he's going to wrap all this shit up. But you got so many things hanging out there. And then the last 30 pages, he wraps it up. But it is so abbreviated and truncated. And when I read the end, I'm like, it's not really the end. There's another version of this sitting on somebody's desk that no one saw. That I would like to see, please.
Yeah, you would think if you've gotten through however long that is, let's say 300 pages, why wouldn't you just take another 100 to finish it out right? You know, and
Exactly.
the love it deserves.
But I digress.
You'd be proud of me, Charles. Since the last time we talked, I've been trying to turn one of my ideas into a novel instead of writing it as a script.
Awesome.
I'm 3 pages in.
I want to be the shadow reader on that one.
It's better than zero.
My goal has been to get the opening scene done so that I can send it to you, and I would send it to both of you to read. But my goal was to do that, Charles. I just want to be like, here you go. Tell me what you think, and I hope you like it because you inspired me. But damn it, if I can't I can't get it down. And I always thought I was decent at using descriptors and exposition and stuff. And in a lot of cases, I think I do an okay job of it in my scripts. But like, I went and I watched on Netflix, there's a documentary called the Nilsen tapes about Dennis Nilsen, who was a British serial killer. And he's basically, instead of writing a book in prison, he recorded tapes of himself talking about his murders and everything. And the way he speaks is so eloquent and descriptive that I'm just like, I heard that. I'm like, if I talked like that, I feel very comfortable writing a novel. But I feel like because I don't talk like this guy, I'm not going to be very good at this. And I still have pushed through 3 pages. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's by any means as descriptive as I had hoped it would be. It's certainly not Stephen King quality. That's for damn sure.
It's funny when I write, I feel like I'm so much more eloquent and educated, and I sound like Hannibal Lecter when I write. I'm just so beautifully flowing. And then in person, it's like, what's up, mofos? Like, it's just a weird scattered brain. I'm always nervous when I talk to people. I'm like, wow.
I get that all the time. I mean, I talk with a deep Southern twang. I say the word ain't a lot. So ain't, yeah, it's all right.
I love it. I love a twang. I wish I had a bit of an accent. Obviously, people not from Chicago say you have a Chicago accent, but I don't hear it.
I want a Scottish accent. I just really like that accent. I haven't mastered it. There's the one accent I'm not really that great at, and makes me sad on the inside.
Well, on the writing front, I will tell you, I've done something recently that I rarely do, and I'm going to go back to it. But I had an idea for a book as I was writing another book. And the idea for the new book was overpowering the writing of my current book. So I stopped writing my current book to go to the new idea that's pounding me in the head. So I rarely do that. And but this was strong enough that I had to stop. And Elena was my shadow reader on this one. And she said, well, I could kind of tell by the dialect you were kind of getting tired of these characters in this world already, and she what up like 10,000 words.
Well, the way you were doing the conversation, it just felt like you were making that conversation last a long time because you weren't in love with the characters yet, and you could tell like you liked them, but you weren't sure yet.
Yeah, tell. But that was weird for me. It's happened once before, but it doesn't happen very often, where something else pulls you in a completely different direction. So
no, I've done that. I totally understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, but anyway.
I feel like Elena asked me one question, and then we went on like 20 tangents.
Yeah, we did. I forgot what she asked. What was it, Elena?
Well, she asked the movie question about when I was a kid.
Oh,
I didn't say the TV show that I used to love when I was a kid, even though I only watched a handful of episodes, was Friday the 13th, the series.
I didn't know they made a series.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not, Jason's not in it though. But it's an awesome concept. It's like these two cousins, I think they are. They go to, for some reason or another, they get called to their uncle's. He's got an antique store, I think in New York or somewhere, and they like go to him, and it's a guy and a girl that are cousins, and he's like been robbed. And his antique store, he had this big safe in the back of it that had all these cursed items, and someone had like opened up the safe, and basically like the Ghostbusters, vault. All of these cursed items have gone out now into the world, and his nephew and niece now have to go out and find them. So they're kind of like Mulder and Scully, and each episode they go and find one of these cursed items that has found its way to somewhere. And like there's a mirror that's cursed, or there was a dollhouse that was cursed. And so it's really cool. There was only maybe like 3 seasons or something, and they don't age very well at all. Not at all. But
they don't make as many horror shows as they used to. Now I know it sounds funny, but they don't make them like the cheesy ones like they used to, like Forever Night, and then I like Dark Shadows, the old school Dark Shadows. That was my favorite thing on the planet of Earth as a kid. I could not get enough of that. But yeah, no, with Forever Night, like they don't make stuff like that anymore.
Man, I forgot about that. I forgot about that show.
Dustin actually introduced it to me because we've been together for 5 years now, and he said, "You've never seen it?" I said, "No." He goes, "You're gonna love this," and I did. So then we bought it on DVD, and that's probably one of our favorite things. We still watch it all the time.
There's a lot back in the day that I don't think like really transitioned at all. Like there was a show called Werewolf that was on like network television. I think it was on Fox for a couple of years in the 80s. And I don't remember it being very good, but as a 7-year-old, it was like, whoa, a werewolf TV show. This is awesome. And,
they had that other show that lasted maybe a season. I was a kid when it came out. Do you remember the show called Manimal?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, and I remember it as a kid, but it was kind of that concept, but it only lasted a season. It didn't hang around very long. But speaking of horror-themed shows, and it's more on the comedic front, but I want to get your take on Rob Zombie and the Munsters. How do you think that's going to turn out?
I don't really know. If it's going to be black and white, I think that'd be kind of cool. I think it'll be weird if it's color.
I do too.
Not that. I mean, they obviously transitioned the Addams Family, and it worked fine. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's because the behind the scenes photo they showed of Sherry Moon and Daniel Roebuck, and I don't remember who plays the husband, but it was black
Ferguson. Ferguson.
Okay,
what's his name? Jeff Ferguson. Is that his name?
So I like Daniel Roebuck. I've always liked him. He and I have I helped him at a convention one year. He needed like some files sent or something recorded, and I helped him. And so he was really nice with me and stuff. And I actually saw him at Days of the Dead last weekend. So I thought it was really cool that he's in it, because he's just one of those actors that's been in everything, and you're like, I know that guy, but who is that guy? You know what I mean? So I thought that was really cool. I am a little sick of seeing Cherry Moon Zombie because I don't think she's a very good actress. But, to each their own. She's his wife and she's an actress. And if he wants to put her in his movies, by all means. But I don't know. I'll see it. I don't know if I'm not going to go to the theater and see it. I haven't been to the theater in over 2 years. So
yeah, well, the rumor is it's coming out on Netflix or Peacock.
I'm with you on the black and white front, though, because I loved the Munsters in black and white, and when I saw Munsters Go Home for the first time in color, when I got the DVD, I didn't like it as much. I was like, "What is this? This doesn't even look this like it just didn't look right."
Oh, it's like
it was too cheerful. I was like, I need more darkness to it, just a little bit, because it's already a family-oriented show, so it was already kind of silly, but the black and white kind of brought it back to the slight scare aspect. But like you said with Sherry Moon, I wouldn't have picked her to be Lily Munster. I think that's my only like real qualm with it. But if he keeps it to that same thing, I think which he will because he is a big Munsters fan. But I don't know. I think the only movie that the last film with Sherry Moon that I actually really enjoyed her acting was her last performance as Baby Firefly in Three from Hell. I think she gave it a different aspect as far as her losing her mind a little bit more. So that was cool, but she's not the greatest actress ever on the world. Sorry, Sherry, no offense to you. I'm just saying. She isn't everything
No,
to me.
I don't think many people disagree with you. I think that the vast majority of the audiences out there are not watching Rob Zombie's movies for the acting talents within them. I think it's just because they're music video looking, and they have some cool visuals, and obviously he's on the more gritty side of things, traditionally speaking, with his work.
Mhm.
So I personally, I honestly don't know if I like any of his movies, even though I don't mind some of them. I like House of a Thousand Corpses, but it's a blatant ripoff of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I
Slash Rocky Horror.
What's that?
Plus,
Slash Rocky Horror.
Yeah, you're right, but there's no comedic element to it like
Yeah.
Rocky Horror, obviously. And I'm not as huge of a fan of Devil's Rejects because I don't really like torture movies, and that's all that movie is essentially in my mind.
Mhm.
I don't mind Lords of Salem. I just think it's a little too weird, but I don't.
It's a music video. That's why. It's not a movie, it's a music video.
Yes, I agree. But it is pretty cool. My second viewing of it, I was like, okay, I do
That
enjoy
was
this
me.
film more.
That was me.
And his Halloweens, the only thing I like about his Halloweens is the violence. I think he really upped the R rating value of Halloween, and now these new Halloween movies. I think that they really took something from Rob Zombie's as motivation and said, look, Zombie went nuts, especially in Halloween 2. Michael Myers is so fucking brutal in that movie. And I think that in these new ones, David Gordon Green said, let's do that because Michael Myers needs to be vicious because he's so silent that I don't think people are going to be really scared of him if he's not brutal too. And God, the kills in the new Halloween movies are so cool. Um, so, but yeah, I'm not a huge Rob Zombie fan in terms of him being a filmmaker. So,
well, I'm going to bring up another film that Elena and I talked about in a previous podcast, and I put her on the spot with who was that we had on the podcast that day? Anyway, the new Texas. I'm talking about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Fuck that movie. Fuck that movie. I'm so pissed off about it. Couple cool kills. This is the problem I have with certain Shudder and Netflix movies. Damn you, Charles. I hate when you do this to me because now you know I'm going to get angry. Tangent time. So I think my main issue, where the hell did this old lady come from that is guarding Leatherface? Okay, why does he like her so much? Why is she like a mother figure? What is this adoption agency? Like, did she adopt Leatherface as a grown adult? Did he kill all the kids in the orphanage? I have questions, Second off, I know this old ass lady from the first Texas Chainsaw did not get held up in the air with the chainsaw and still have enough, to laugh hysterically and shoot him.
Not to mention the fact that, like, going into that, when they reintroduced Sally Hardesty, I was like, okay, they're going the route of the new Halloween movies. They're reintroducing their heroine. That's cool, even though she's no Laurie Strode by any means. But I literally was more invested in her character in the initial sections of showing her than I was with Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween movie, because I thought it was kind of dumb. I was like, you're basically doing with her what you did with Sidney Prescott in the newer Scream films, where she's this recluse who's just got an alarm system, and and only you make her a little more like Ellen Ripley, and it's like Laurie Strode was never Ellen Ripley. When I use my horror heroine comparison, it's always you're either a Laurie Strode or you're an Ellen Ripley. And now you've got Laurie Strode becoming Ellen Ripley. I don't see that at all, But But the problem I had with the Texas Chainsaw is that it's like you have this Sally Hardesty character, and all of a sudden she just gets killed, and that's the end of it. It's like she just dies like that. Like, she didn't even put up a fucking fight. Like,
no, there was no, she did not die a true hero's death. And I think that's what pissed me off. I'm like, if you're going to bring back a very classic character, please do it the respect that it is deserved. I need a dramatic death. She had to punch him in the eye, saw an arm off, something cool, but like she got killed in the first 10 seconds.
Oh, and I mean, getting gutted with a chainsaw and held up in the air is pretty awesome, but there's no way you're going to survive that, especially if you're a 75-year-old woman. I'm sorry, that ain't going to happen. And I don't
Even
care.
in the horror verse.
I was so excited when those kids were dying, though. I did not like those characters. You do not go into old school Texas. I'm so sorry. You just don't. And then just redo everything and make it just this like, are you surprised there's rebel flags? It's fucking Texas. It's fucking Texas. What?
Well, and that's
the whole thing.
That's what I loved about it, was that you've got all these millennials that are all, you know, super fucking soft and sensitive and shit. And again, you know what? To each their own, obviously. But it's like, yeah, the whole thing with him being like, you're going to get canceled. Fuck you. You're getting your head sawn off or whatever. But
that shit was funny. I found that absolutely hysterical. I was like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, that was.
But also the blood coming underneath the door in that I loved. Thematically, I thought that was really pretty.
That makes me mad because I have that scene in a script that I've been wanting to shoot for 14 years now. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. But the thing that I thought was funny, because it is, in my opinion, a commentary on society, is you've got these kids that are all, you know, these what do they call them, flowers or whatever, you know, the sensitive flowers, millennials. And it's like, they go to Texas, which is obviously a very pro-gun state. You literally have 4 different scenes, 4, not 1, not 2, but 4 different scenes in this movie where there is a character not 5 feet away from a gun, and they don't know how to use the gun, or they don't even think to grab the gun and defend themselves. Instead, they run the other direction, and what happens? You get your fucking ass killed. Guess what? You deserve it. And that is why I am a proponent of having a firearm, because if you need it, you're goddamn right I'm going to use it, because I want to be able to survive, you know?
Somebody was like, why would you shoot somebody if they came in your house? First of all, they ain't supposed to fucking be there. That's number 1. Number 2, that's their own goddamn fault for coming in my house like that.
You got to be careful, because you can get, I mean, and that's the weird thing, is that, you know, if somebody's trespassing, you should be able to shoot them if they're trespassing, which means if somebody's
you're in my house.
Yeah. Well,
what are you doing in my swamp?
Well, it's a little different walking through someone's yard and pulling a window open and crawling into the house. If you're pulling a window open and crawling into the house at 2:00 in the morning, bang, bang, sorry.
Yeah, like you should not. But anyway, with Texas, also, what school shooting? They didn't go into any of her story. I kind of was slightly interested. She was slightly likable. She had somewhat of a final girl aspect to her. Survivor's guilt from something in the past, yada yada yada. But yeah, they killed off the one character that I kind of thought was cool, which was the Texan. Really, I mean, he was basic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I liked him, and I was like, you're gonna kill the smartest guy in the. Well, he wasn't smart, but
he doesn't even use his AR. He's got this AR, and he doesn't use it. And then the girl who's in the school shooting victim, she picks it up, and she doesn't even know how to turn a safety off. And it's just like. Which is probably a good thing that she didn't, because if she would have shot it, it would have fucking had her. She would have flown.
She would have shot her own self.
Yeah,
she would have shoot her eye out.
Yeah,
she would shoot her eye out.
And like
straight up.
And obviously this is spoiler central, but like at the end of it, another funny commentary on society. It's like the fact that she's hanging out of the sunroof of this Tesla as it's self-driving out of the town. I'm like, you're just like watching this happen, and he's not chasing you, even though your car is going 10 miles an hour because it's a fucking battery-powered car. Like I was just like,
going back to the rules of the Friday the 13th movies, he may be moving a second. He's still going to kill you.
Yeah, he's
like, you don't go slow. You run fast.
Maybe the Tesla is bulletproof. I don't know.
Yeah. If that scene was at the beginning where he was holding her sister's head up, I think I probably would have liked the movie a lot more. If that was the start of the film, that was a perfect kill. Why save that? I mean, that was the best kill in the movie. But I was like, man, if you put this in the beginning, I might have been a little more invested. But Dustin and I were just sitting there. I was like, "Is this gonna get any better? Because I don't like it. I don't like it."
I mean, there was a lot of good scenes in that movie, like a lot of good kill scenes. I actually really enjoyed the first half of that film when he escapes and he just rips those dudes apart in the ambulance and then kills the girl. And I I was like, that to me was really good and well paced and very tense, especially since it takes place in the daytime. You're in this beautiful
Yeah.
field with this beautiful sunset, and you're scared shitless because you're like, dude, where's this guy at? And is she going to move? Is she going to get into the field? Is he going to chase her? No, she just gets her ass killed in the fucking front seat of the ambulance, and that's it.
I like the part where he threw the freaking what did he throw down the stairs? He threw something and the way she fell backward. I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can remember, but like you said, the last half I thought it got a little silly. I said your chainsaw would have broke by now. Chainsaws are not that strong. It just would have quit running. It does not go through floors like that. I'm so sorry. Second off, bodies don't like she did you not know that dead bodies don't, you know, they float, and you should have checked that.
And
Always do the double tap.
why would he hide his chainsaw on the wall behind his bed? Like, just put it in a box in the basement. Like, it doesn't have to be in the fucking wall. Like, oh, we're gonna make this.
He's that strong. I'm like, were you really stopping him there? Were you really stopping him when you?
Yeah, the old lady's like, put this away. You'll never need it again. But I don't want to throw it away. I want to hold on to it. It's a keepsake. Okay.
And it's been in the wall for 30 years. So
Yeah.
it's going to
I
crank
wanted
right
to know
up.
that story. I'm like, give me that story. Where he went after the first movie. I want to know that. Like, touch on that. If it's creepier, go for it. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me how, as an independent filmmaker, I know just how difficult it is to get money to make a movie, to get a film greenlit,
Yeah.
and then from being greenlit, getting it produced, and then getting it edited, and then getting it sold, and getting it distributed. And it's like, when I see stuff like that, my wife always makes fun of me because she's like, you watch some terrible movies. Why do you waste your time? And it's like,
Because they're excellent.
well, I don't generally, I don't love
No.
bad horror movies. I watch them with my friends if we're getting drunk or whatever and enjoying them. But I try and find movies that I really love. Like, I watched The Northman last night, and I really enjoyed
How was
that.
it?
I really enjoyed it. It's super brutal. It's the perfect Viking movie. But it's like, you watch something like that, and you say, okay, here's a pretty cliched story. A guy's dad gets killed, and he goes after the guy who killed his dad. Vengeance story. You've seen it 100 times, but it's, what do they do to make it different, to make it unique? And I feel like there's so many films out there now that get made that you look at and you're like, there's nothing original about this film. The script is not good. The characters are piss poor, and you don't care about any of them. The dialogue is terrible. The effects aren't impressive. So why was this movie made? Who gave them money to make this? And I don't understand that, especially the bigger budget ones, because to me, if you've got the money to make something good. You don't have to make a shitty movie because you have the money to make it good. I just don't get it.
I miss the old. I know I'm reminiscing. I miss the 90s era of horror movies because I know that we have to touch on, the newness of society and the changes that we've made with technology, but I'm tired of horror movies where the cell phones are such a big fucking aspect of the movie. You have to film everything. The kids are locking their doors with the cell phone. The parents aren't there. I just don't like this aspect of there's always a cell phone present. There's always a computer. There's always social media. There's YouTube. It just makes me so upset. I just miss that 90s era. Everything was, if you didn't have a house phone, you were fucked, or a pager or anything. You just didn't have it. It made the plot line a lot more interesting, and the characters had more of a chance to develop themselves and have more conversations with each other rather than everything happening through hearsay in a text message,
Yeah, technology's definitely changed the way humans interact, and humans are personally 100%, but it also creates a lot more difficulties as a writer of a horror film because you have to find ways around the communication and technology of commonplace today. That's what I love about old films. And it's funny because, you're obviously younger than Charles and I. Charles is in his 50s. I'm in my 40s, and I don't know how old you are, but
I'll be 29.
What's that?
I'll be 29 in June.
So you're about a decade younger than me, and it's like you're thinking back to the 90s movies like how I think back to the 80s movies. And Yeah, the 90s, I don't in general love that decade of horror because it was very flashy and overproduced, in my opinion, compared to 80s movies. But I still love what you say, where characters had to talk to each other. They only had access to a landline phone. They had a car that ran with gas, and the doors had to be unlocked with a key. So if there's a guy chasing you with a machete, you got to get your key out, you got to put it in the keyhole, and you got to not fumble it. I mean, it's shit that doesn't exist anymore. You click it, and it closes
Yeah.
and locks or opens, and lights come
Hell,
on, and it says hello, and
some of them
welcome
you
back.
click it and the damn car starts for you.
No, they didn't even have fucking alarm systems in half the movies I watched when I was a kid. I was like, I watched the 70s, 80s horror. Like, they didn't have that shit. They just had, people still left their houses unlocked. Like, I just come right on in.
Oh, we do too, but that's just my wife doesn't know how to unlock doors or lock doors. Sorry, babe. I give her shit all the time. I'm like, hey, you were born in a barn. You keep leaving the door open. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, it freaks me out. I will.
So anyways,
You.
do you have like other questions for me?
Yes, I'm sorry. We went out on a million tangents. I was going to ask you, as a director and as with your script writing, what is one of the biggest challenges that you have? Do you enjoy more of the creation process, or do you love the end editing process and everything like that? Like, what is your struggles and favorite parts?
The personal struggle is just sitting down and getting motivated to write. I said this to Charles last time. I I enjoy writing if I'm in the groove. If I'm not in the groove, I hate it, and I have such a hard time kickstarting my desire to write, which sucks because I really do. My background is in writing, and I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I was a writer before a filmmaker, and um, I just I hate the fact that it's such a struggle for me personally to write because there's only one thing preventing me from writing, and that's my own motivation. But in terms of actually making a movie, it's raising the money and getting a team of people together and making sure everybody's happy and comfortable and whatnot. Because like I told Charles in the last recording, it's like you can sit in your office or on your couch and you can write a novel, and that's all you have to do. You don't need to spend any money. You can build as big of a world or as small of a story as you want because it's all up here and it's free. Whereas when you make a movie, I tried making a movie this last winter, and I had raised $100,000 for it, and it's a very simple plot: 3 characters, 1 location, and I wanted to go and do it. And I had friends of mine who are producers who have made a lot of movies in the last 5 years say, this isn't a good idea to do this because you're going to need more than $100,000, and you're going to want to get this and this and this lined up, and you got to worry about this. And I was just like, it's disheartening because it's like, all I want to do is make another movie. I haven't directed in 5 years. So all I want to do is get behind the camera again. But I agree that I want my cast and crew to be comfortable. I want everybody to be paid well so that they're happy to be there and not stressed out. I want my effects and my locations and my production team to have enough money and time so that everything looks good and sounds good and feels good. And that all takes so much work and effort that when I was a younger person, it was a lot easier to do because I not only had more free time, but I had more energy. And now it's like, on top of the house construction that I've been talking to you guys about before we started recording, on top of that, it's just everything else. I work 50 hours a week overnights. I do the bloody disgusting stuff. It's just hard. So I'd say that's the answer easily.
Yeah, the balance aspect. I have that same struggle because, working in the medical field, you can't be a weirdo and talk about serial killers with people because they're gonna not want to talk to you. So you just kind of have to keep that on the inside a little bit, hide your tattoos. And then when people see me on, social media, they're like, "Wait, you do this, and then you do this, and then you have like crazy. You're a ghoul. I don't understand. Like, who? What is this? Like, you don't talk about this." I said, because I don't know if you guys are asking because you want to know, or you're just being nosy and you just.
Yeah,
So I think balancing that, but like you said, working so many hours and then coming home and trying to create something that you've had in your head for so long, but not having the energy to do it. You know, it sucks.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I work 50 hours a week overnights. I work 48 hours, 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week. And it's like I have time at work technically to sit and work on stuff if I was to do it, but I don't because it's 3 a.m. and it's like I don't have the motivation to sit here and try and write a script right now because I'm tired and I just have to stay awake and make sure this place doesn't blow up, you know?
And the environment that you're in at the time,
Affects your mood
it does
so
affect your
much.
mindset. So I'm putting myself in your shoes. How would I feel if Charles, you write this novel while you're sitting here trying to oversee operations at a plant or whatever the job is? No, that ain't going to happen. Even if I have the time to sit there and do it, I'm not going to be focused on that. It's not. It won't be my area of focus because I'm not comfortable and I'm not in my safe place. If that makes sense.
That it does. That was the biggest argument that I had, or the biggest ammunition that I had when I discussed, getting an office in my house with my wife because we only have so many bedrooms, so there's only so much space, to have dedicated to certain things, and I really wanted this space where I could go, close the door, put on a horror movie soundtrack on my record player, and if I want to sit and try and write or edit or whatever, or even just think about horror, I can because I've got posters on the wall and I've got, my awards and accolades and stuff and the motivation, the inspiration, the stuff that makes you, remember why you care about this genre in the first place. Exactly. I mean, you look behind both of you guys and you are surrounded by things that you love and make you feel comfortable. It's the feng shui. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but
That's the proper way. We don't.
Yeah, this is Georgia. You can say it like that. We're in Georgia.
That fancy redecorating that y'all call, that feng shui.
Yeah, exactly. So
that there feng shui.
I still got to do it in this room. I just have the walls painted. I got to do the rest of it, but
that is the most satisfying thing to do. So satisfying because I finally saw pictures of when we first moved in, and the walls were so bare. I said, "Oh, we had nothing in here. It's so empty." But once we move, which if the housing market wasn't the way it is, we would. But if you could only see what surrounds me, except this part here, there's costumes here. There's like a mess over here. I have ruined my bathtub by distressing a costume with dye in it. Like it's just there's too much going on. Behind me is my makeup table. There's body paint over here. There's an airbrush. Like it's just it's chaos. So
that's exactly what That's what Tony's talking about. You got your stuff all around you. I mean, I'm looking. I've got my record player over here. I've got my stuff on the wall all the way around me, and this is my safe place. This is where I like to write. This is where I like
in one day, and they were like, "You decorated really early for Halloween." We were like,
"No, this is how it looks."
That's not Halloween. It's just how it is. Yeah. And my biggest struggle right now, aside from trying to figure out how I'm going to do my desk and my work area in here, is what posters am I going to hang on the wall? I don't have so much wall space, and I have so many posters that I want to put up. And I need it. It still needs to be tastefully done. Because this is also our guest bedroom, so it can't be just.
Hey, dude, my beat laboratory is a guest bedroom. I got a full size bed in here. Now we haven't had very many guests. I got Falcons. I got a fucking Atlanta Falcons bedspread and sheet on this thing because I take naps back here. But anyway, I digress. This is about Tony. It's not about me.
Yeah, but we're relating to each other. That's why we have a couch in here. It's the height of it.
This is what horror nerds do, as you will.
Yeah, like I needed a couch so that I could take a nap in my office too, because if I'm in here working and I just want to close my eyes for a few minutes, that's what I got to have. And like I said, I got to pick the color on the walls, and I'm excited to put posters up that kind of match this. My last writing space was blue, so I had the Fright Night poster. I had just one like Friday 13th Part 3 because they just match the color and the tone of the room, and I'm all about just having that comfort level. So I gotta go through my posters and see what kind of has a greenish hue to it.
You have that goth green color, that very deep forest green.
Yeah,
I love that color.
It's called Amazon green. It's really cool. In some light, it's kind of more blue, and others it's green. But I'm just really excited to get this to get my comfort zone set up and try and get back to creating in some capacity. I've got, stuff to do for Bloody Disgusting, and obviously I've got scripts or a novel that I want to try and get going on, and
Nice.
so definitely excited about all that.
Well, if and when, and I know it may be a while because you have so much going on, but if and when you do get, if you decide to go into the podcast realm, let us know. We'd love to be guests on your show at some point because
Yes.
we love talking to fellow horror nerds for sure. And
I just like my free time too much. I have a hard time. Like, I used to get done bartending and then I would just sit on my computer and.
Well, I'm talking about future. If down the road you say, you know what, I kind of want to do this.
Still though, if you're on the phone, I'm on the phone all day long. The last thing sometimes I do when I come home, I don't want to talk to anybody. That's the day when everybody calls you, and it's not about something short. They really need something, and you're just like.
Yeah, I like messing with Elena. A couple weeks ago,
this is peaceful though. It's people that I like to talk to. Yeah, well,
we took a little break from podcasting for a while because we had so many episodes in the can, and I texted her on a Thursday at like 6:30. I said, "Are you joining us or not?" She's like, "Oh shit, do we have a show?"
I was like, "Dude, I was about to shit myself. Like, I'm over here in bed. I'm just like looking like a sloth." What? Got home from work. I was like, "I'm gonna take a nap. This is gonna be great."
I said,
took some cold medicine for my allergies. I was like, I'm about to go to bed. I'm done for the day. So I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
But, so I have a random question. I thought about it earlier. If you were to remake a movie from the past into a horror film, what movie would you choose? And I say this because I thought about what if someone made Grease into a horror movie?
Oh. It's interesting.
I don't know why I thought about that. I was like, that would be I'd watch the shit out of that.
I'm going to be on a podcast on Sunday that my buddy Brett does, and I think it's called the Necromancers Podcast. I'd have to check, but he and his co-host, they either do a romantic comedy or they do a horror movie, which is such an interesting dynamic.
So funny.
So they do one or the other for each episode, and they talk about them. And one of the things that they do is they talk about if that movie were to be the opposite genre, if the horror movie were to be a romantic comedy or the other way around. And so I picked for our show, we're doing Creature, which is one of the 80s alien ripoff movies. Actually really good. I really enjoyed it. It was directed by William Malone, who did the House on Haunted Hill remake and Fear.com.
I actually liked that remake.
Yeah, I did too. I like that remake too. And so it's a cool 80s ripoff to Alien, like I said, and it's everywhere. You can watch it on Tubi or Amazon or whatever, I'm pretty sure. But so we're going to do that, and that's one of the things that they wanted to do is like, Tony, will you pitch us? Can we pitch you an idea for a movie and like change the genre up or whatever? So let me think. I mean, that's a tough question because I'd have to think back to like my favorite movies from being a kid that I would love to remake, as a horror movie. I think Revenge of the Nerds would probably be a cool horror movie, and I love Revenge of the Nerds.
Especially in the space scene. Oh, dude, he could have murdered her in there. It would have been great.
See, that would be cool. What else do I love as a kid that would have been a cool horror movie? I don't know. I mean, it's tough because like my favorite movies as a kid was Karate Kid and Back to the Future and Top Gun. And I won't even watch them anymore because I saw them so many times as a kid that I wore them out. I don't care to ever see Karate Kid ever again. Back to the Future.
How do you feel about them remaking Top Gun?
Wait, what? What'd you say?
Yeah, they're remaking Top Gun. Did you not know that?
It's not a remake. It's a sequel.
It's not?
It's a sequel.
I thought they were remaking it. I was like,
No. Tom Cruise is reprising his role. He's going to be like one of the instructors at the Top Gun Academy.
I got scared there for a minute because I thought it was a whole ass remake. I was like, don't do this.
No. It's a continuation.
Yeah, it's a continuation.
Okay.
Now, he's one of the instructors, and Goose's son is going to the academy. But
yeah.
And I think he holds like animosity towards Maverick because he believes that he caused his father's death, which is fucking stupid because it's like you weren't even born when your father died, so you don't even know your father, so does it matter? Like, You know, like, I don't know. But anyways, I heard somebody saw the first 10 minutes of it on Facebook, one of my friends, and they said it's terrible. Like the dialogue, everything is just terrible. So clearly trying to cash in on that franchise, you know.
Man.
Well, you could do a whole series of horror movies with Porky's. You know, Porky's Revenge. You get all kinds of, and the titties are already there, so you're good.
It's too bad Bob
Porky's has
Clark
a lot of
didn't-
titties.
Yeah, it's too bad Bob Clark didn't try and do that transition because he did Black Christmas. He certainly could have directed, the Porky's horror film. But yeah, I mean, any of those movies would be cool. Who Framed Roger Rabbit would be an interesting horror movie.
Now that I'd watch the shit out of. I was obsessed with that movie.
Can't watch it. The shoe, and when Christopher Lloyd drops the shoe in the acid, I'll never ever watch that again. That traumatized me. That was.
I fast forwarded that every time it happened. I couldn't watch it. I was like, this breaks my heart. I don't like this.
Can't watch it. I love that little shoe. That shoe was so cute. All I wanted was to take that shoe home with me and take care of it and make it my favorite little pet and never wear it. Just hang out with it. A shoe.
Oh my god!
The amount of fictional deaths for cartoon characters and animals that have made me so irate. Like in John Wick, I was like, I'm done. I'm not watching this fucking movie anymore. I don't even want to watch it. Who the fuck? Who thought? No.
Well, let's face it. He kills about 400 people because his dog got killed. So I think he got him back. I think
he got him back. He got him back.
The Baba Yaga.
But
my daughter.
I can't handle people killing animals or killing cartoon animals. You can kill millennials all day for me in a book and in a movie. Just don't kill an animal or a fucking cartoon shoe, please.
Kill off your entire high school class in a fire. Cool. Good for you. They deserve. Good for you. I'm happy for you. But you kill an animal, I hope you die.
Well, I remember taking my daughter to, I think it was a Disney movie as a kid. She was a kid. Is it The Princess and the Frog? I can't remember.
Sure.
But the freaking firefly died in it. There's some
firefly.
I
remember that.
Oh, yeah. She cried like a baby in the theater. I'm like, oh, my God.
I cried at, I loved Hunchback of Notre Dame as a kid. And I was really sad that she didn't end up with the Hunchback. It made me sad.
I can't watch Disney movies because they make me cry. And I freely
every fucking time.
Every
time.
The only one I'll watch is Robin Hood because I loved it as a kid because nobody died in it that you cared about, and it's like my wife makes fun of me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't because people always die in them and it makes me sad. Like I don't want
That's the opening movie. Right. Little John and Robin Hood are walking through the forest.
Yeah. I still whistle that fucking song I'll do that. I still do that when I'm working my own.
Tony Watts is our first musical guest on Horror 421, the podcast.
I thought you've had a couple other. You had Jen.
Yeah, no one's performed. We tried to get one to perform on our last recording, and he didn't want to. So
no, that was sad.
It was sad.
I don't get that. If I was good at performing musically, I would do it all the time.
Yeah. I wish I could. And one of them I was so starstruck with it didn't matter anyway because she's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, you got her picture on the wall behind you.
Oh yeah. And I got a backstage pass coming up in Detroit, so I'll be backstage with them when they.
Don't embarrass us, Charles.
Huh? Oh, I'm going to embarrass the shit out of you. So
don't do it.
Sorry.
Please don't. Just think of me going. You can be creepy, but not that creepy.
Okay? Hey, I was never creepy. But it was fun.
He's going to go full white girl mode.
Yes.
Oh, my God. It's okay. It's not as bad as the video of me at a Rob Zombie concert, and he was singing, and I got to touch him, and I freaked out. I was like, oh, my God, I touched Rob Zombie. Oh, my God. And you can hear me, and the lady looking over at me is like, this bitch is crazy. I was like, I hate watching that video. So cringy.
I don't think I've ever been like that starstruck before. I worked on Road to Perdition when they were shooting in Illinois, and I met Jude Law, and I had breakfast with Sam Mendes, the director, and met Conrad Hall, who's one of the all-time great cinematographers, and I was 5 feet from Tom Hanks, and it's like that Tom Hanks maybe that was a little
dude, like, I would have just passed out.
Yeah, he's like larger than life celebrity. That'd be like Johnny Depp, but
dude.
But like,
I'd embarrass
John Carpenter. Like when I met John Carpenter, and he is my idol. I absolutely love John Carpenter. And I try my best not to be nervous or fanboy like because even when I meet these people at the conventions, it's like when I was talking to Brink Stevens, because she had a table right across from me. So she came over on Saturday and was asking me about Screambox and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's actually really cool. We have Slumber Party Massacre on there, and I play the shit out of it because it fits really well into a short time slot because it's only an hour and 15 minutes long.
Great movie.
And she was really nice to talk to and everything. But I'm like, it's like I sit there and I always say to these people, I'm like, oh, I grew up watching your movies. And I'm like, do they like hearing that? Like when you tell a veteran, thank you for your service, and they're like, secretly, we fucking hate it when you tell us that. And it's like, well,
yeah,
but I truly mean that. I respect the fuck out of the fact that you went and put your life on the line to protect my freedom. I respect you and I appreciate it. So thank you. Saying that to somebody like Frank Stevens, I grew up watching you in movies, and I love that. Does she hate hearing that, or does she really appreciate hearing that? If I was a 60-year-old filmmaker and was at a convention and someone came up to me and said, I loved It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to, I'd be like super touched by that. That's all I hope for, is to be able to continue doing these things 15, 20 years from now and have people care about, what I've created.
Well, I do care about what you created, and I do love it. It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to. And I will say you're an uber talented guy, and I wish you nothing but the best. I want you to get whatever projects you have working on. I want you behind the camera because, Elena, go back and watch Tony's movies, the ones you've missed, because they're really good. The Rake, I told him on the last podcast, something I didn't realize through the first watch is this time I had headphones on and I was watching it, and the score of that movie just was like, it built such tension. And he went through the story of the score in the previous podcast, but every aspect, I mean, he looks for things and he does things that that really make you think. So, I appreciate Tony's skill, and I'm not just saying that. If I didn't think he was very skillful, I'd keep my mouth shut. I think he's a great director, and I'm really interested in seeing what he has coming down the pipeline. So just keep doing what you do, man.
I appreciate that. I was like, is this your way of trying to wrap this up because we're at an hour and a half?
Oh no, but I mean, we can segue into that if you want, but I'm fine today. But yeah.
No, I sincerely appreciate that. I feel like a broken record when people compliment me and I tell them how I sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that I don't care when they compliment what my friends and I have created, because it's obviously a labor of love. I am a horror fan. It's what I care about more than anything, except for my wife and my family on this planet.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
All I want to do is spend the rest of my life working in the horror business, whether it's movies or TV or whatever it is. I love the horror genre so much, and it's been an amazing 16 years to be able to create stuff with other people that are talented in different areas that I am not talented in, and see what we build together and how it turns out, and see how it grows and evolves, because a movie is such a process. It's not just a thing. It's a growth, and so I really love that there are people such as you out there, both of you who watch what I've done and support what I've done, and again, what my friends have helped create. They're the talented ones, as I always say. I'm good at organizing things. I get everybody together and I put the right people in the right places, and then they're the ones who do all the artistic shit. To me, directing, it might be artistic in the sense of talking with your actors and getting the performances that you need. And so I'm not saying that there's a short-sightedness in that regard. I absolutely think that if it wasn't for my friend Rob Stern, who's my cinematographer, and my friend Jason Kane, who did all my special effects work, like the Rake monster, Elena, you want to see some cool fucking special effects, watch the Rake. The monster that the team created for that movie is so fucking cool. And that's the shit that really wets my whistle and makes me want to keep doing this, making movies for people like me who love a good horror movie and don't want to go and sit for an hour and a half watching some bag of shit that you realize that person who wrote that script doesn't give a fuck about the horror genre. They're just writing this because it's a paycheck. And this is some idiot producer who bought the rights to this franchise and is making another one because they want to cash in on the franchise tag. And, that's just not who I am. And there's a lot of people like me out there. I'm certainly not, the only filmmaker out there who makes horror movies because I'm a horror fan, but I just, it's all I want to do. So
yeah, well, we've had a couple of those people on the show. So yeah, we
being able to work on those sets too, the low budget horror films. I'm like, you have no idea how hard it was to raise that money. That's someone's baby that went into it. That time, the amount of people that worked on it, that didn't get paid too because of the lack of funds for the film, but had such a good time because the people you get for those movies are in it because of pure enjoyment, or they're just starting out, and you could tell they're so passionate to be there. And it's fun to be a part of that and be able to be a part of that passion project, And that was so rewarding that I, was able to do that, last year. And you get to meet so many cool people, but people genuinely do it because they love it, but they do it on top of their regular jobs. And people don't understand how hard it is to accept a compliment sometimes when people tell you how grateful they are for you to do what you do and how they recognize you with your work. It's such a fulfilling feeling because as an artist or as a director for my friend, it's just like, you have no idea the amount of courage it took to post it because I feel like I suck. And then when it's there, and people say, oh my God, that's so cool. It's just so rewarding. And sometimes when people give me compliments, I do this weird face because I don't know what to do with my hands because at the moment I'm just like giddy. I'm just like, you know, but it's just one of those things. I don't think people will never get tired of hearing, that's fucking amazing that you do that. It's just cool.
It's just awesome to have that tangible byproduct of the hard work and to see something that you had on paper or in your head go from your head to paper to being shot and then being edited and adding music to it and everything. It's a truly rewarding and fulfilling experience, to have that. And especially when you're doing it with other people that you care about. And, that's not to say that there aren't struggles and there aren't fights and there aren't, lost friendships and stuff like that in the mix.
Yeah,
there are certainly, and gray hairs. I mean, I've certainly got enough of that, but the benefit, I think, far outweighs the detriment when it comes to producing and creating like that. So I love that I've done it. And I love that there's people like you guys out there that want to help perpetuate the experience by getting other people to check out our work. And, I just appreciate that you guys liked it and wanted to talk to me about it.
Well, we certainly do. So I'm going to segue into that ending you were talking about just a minute ago. I would like for you to tell us where we can find your stuff, what you're working on now, how we can get Screambox, Bloody Disgusting, roll all that together in a nutshell for the listeners, and I'll definitely post links on the podcast.
I should have one of the QR codes on the Screambox postcard. I'm going to just hold it up.
Yeah.
So for Bloody Disgusting, you go to bloodydisgusting.com and find out everything about horror on there. It's one of the, if not the largest horror website in the world. So if you're listening to this podcast, you should know what Bloody Disgusting is, because why would you be listening to a horror podcast if you don't know Bloody Disgusting? And they have a channel called Bloody Disgusting TV. It streams 24/7 through Roku channel, which is on the Roku player. You go there, it's one of the live channels, and you can just put it on in the background. It's really good background noise. You can also watch our show Bloody Bites on Pluto, Sling. You can go to Screambox and subscribe. I think it's like $4.99 a month, and you can get the first month free. If you reach out to these guys, I can get a link or whatever for that. And you can just put the QR code on your website or whatever, and people can get the first month free. Check it out. There's some cool stuff on there. Tons of titles, we're slowly building it with a lot of new content, but we're really excited to be rebranding it. And hopefully competing with Shudder, as we move forward with it. And then in terms of my personal stuff, you can go to scotchworthy.com, which I would recommend you writing that on your post for this, because it's difficult sometimes to spell out. You can go
Yeah, I'll put a link on there for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And you can check out trailers and stuff on my YouTube channel, which is Scotchworthy TV. You can watch our movies like Skeletons in the Closet, High on the Hog, The Rake. They're on Amazon. They're on Tubi. So you can find them all over the place. And otherwise, I'm hoping to get another movie going. We've been talking to Bloody Disgusting about doing a sequel or a remake of Skeletons in the Closet. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Please, I loved them.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're in the developmental phases of it right now. So we're working with Bloody Disgusting's team to get that to their parent company, Cinedigm, and get that greenlit, which is super exciting. That's my biggest hope is that there aren't millions of people that have seen the movie, but the people that have seen it really seem to enjoy it and are fans of it. And so we're hoping that fan base will help kind of show Cinedigm that there's potential there for another episode or another piece of content in that series. So I'm excited about that because Skeletons, the Widow, and Charlie are characters I've had in my head for 20 years, and so I was really glad to see them not only come to light in that movie.
And that's Adam's art box, isn't it?
So Adam did the inner sleeve. If you open that up and you showed people the Adam who plays Charlie, that guy in the movie, he did that artwork, and then the flip side, he did the Widow drawing as well, which Adam is insane.
He is insanely talented. I actually have a few of his pieces in my house. I'm such a fan of his artwork. He's amazing.
Do you have his? When I was at the convention with him this last weekend, I saw, look at that sexy green vinyl. I love it. He did a drawing of Lydia with the handbook for the recently deceased. Do you have that one?
No, I have the Universal's Monsters one.
Okay.
That one's beautiful.
You should go to his website or his Instagram or whatever and check out the Lydia one, because you being a big Beetlejuice fan, I feel like to me it's one of the best ones he's done. He captured Winona Ryder's likeness from that movie so well in that drawing. And his Nightmare on Elm Street ones are cool too. He's got the bed of blood and he's got the TV from part 3. He's just.
I asked him to be on the podcast. He said he would, but we'll see. I don't know. He hadn't answered me back yet because it was around the time of the convention starting.
Let's get the both of us on. We'll talk about Skeletons. That'd be fun.
I love that.
Dude, I want to talk to him about art and stuff too, because oh my god.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a groomsman in his wedding in a couple of months, so
they're so fucking adorable.
He's
they're so cute.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. Him, Kaylee, and my wife and I, we hang out all the time. They were I know I can't say it. I was gonna say, well, they were the first guests at our new house, and I don't want my parents to listen to this and get mad that they were invited over before my parents.
Don't watch, Mom.
So we absolutely love those guys.
Well, it'll be a little while for this podcast airs.
Sure.
We're
time. Time.
Yeah, Adam is just one of those insanely talented people. Their band is really fun to go see too. He did the artwork on the inside, and this guy by the name of Ryan Glosmeyer, who's a World of Death filmmaker, is the one who did the poster art for Skeletons in the Closet. And then my wife is the one who designed, because she's a graphic designer, she did the Blu-ray cover, and then she did the album cover for the soundtrack. Lots of talented people involved, which is awesome. That movie.
Don't you love having that community around you?
Well, it's cool because Skeletons was initially, it started out as Chop Shop. It was a couple of short films that we shot that were never going to get released. And I sat down and I talked to my co-producers and said, I have this idea for this host and hostess dynamic. We can make this movie. All we have to do is shoot 2 days of the host and hostess, 2 or 3 days with the babysitter and the little girl who's their number one fan. And we got 5 days, and now we have a feature-length movie. And my co-producers were like, let's do it. We went and we made it. And like I said, to see an idea that was 20 years old finally get put down on a camera and to watch it come together and the edit and everything, it was a dream come true for me, more so than any of my other films, because it's something that I've had in my head for so long. And I really love the Widow and Charlie characters. I think that they're a lot of fun, and they really hone in on that nostalgic heart factor that we have when you talk about people like Elvira over your shoulder and the Crypt Keeper, the people that we grew up watching and giving us that love and the fun, that the horror genre can bring. It's not just scary, it's also fun. And that's what I loved about the Crypt Keeper and Elvira. And so, I just hope that the Widow and Charlie get perpetuated and more audiences get introduced to them, because I think that they're cool. It's like Peg and Al Bundy, but he's dead and she killed him.
The funny part, they reminded me of that one SNL skit with Adam Sandler and Chris Farley when they were doing the Zagat ratings.
Yeah.
And he was like, "God, kill me now." I don't know. It was so funny. I thought of that when I saw it. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, my co-writer John Halusik is he's got a really good, like, kind of not dry sense of humor. He's not like slapstick funny, but he's been married for 20 years, and so he's got like this. He just has this really good way of making marriage funny, and the bad aspects of marriage funny that everybody tolerates by being married, or you've been in a relationship for 5 years, so you even understand the idiosyncrasies of being in a relationship and living with somebody that you love the shit out of, but sometimes they just want you to pull your hair out.
We can't be hungry at the same time. That's literally the only time we fight, and it's the dumbest shit we'll fight about, but we cannot be hungry at the same time, because it's like a whole World War III. Like, I'm hungry, you're hungry, I'm a whole different
Yeah, my wife,
feed me now.
We have the hangry fights too, for sure. This house has given us our fair share of stressors, but I'll tell you that that's the best thing about it, is it's like there's nothing like that, and that's what I wanted, is like Charlie, even though he's in his own hell where this woman murdered him and keeps him locked up in this basement, and he can't move because he's not a zombie, he's just undead, so he can't move. And I love that, because he is forced to deal with her. And it's like, you see there's moments where he is sentimental, when he's like, "I always loved your laugh." And it's like, he wants to care about her, but he then remembers that she murdered him and keeps him locked up and rotting in the basement. And he's just like, "Fuck you. I love you, but fuck you." So I don't know. I just want more people to see more skeletons. I love it so much. And hopefully if we get to make another one, that all the aspects of it maintain their integrity. And Bloody Disgusting said they want to make 7 of them, so I would certainly love to see that happen.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so you can find all that shit on scotchworthy.com. There's a store there. You can go on there and order stuff. I've probably got a dozen copies of that record left. I only made 100 of them, so there's not very many left. So if you want a first edition of that soundtrack, you got to pick that up fast. If you're a vinyl collector, I highly recommend it. It is a super good soundtrack.
It is. I will attest to that.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
Really talented artists like Matt Corbett, a guy from England who wrote 4 original songs for it. D.C. McAuliffe, who's done a lot of my score work, composed a lot of really awesome soundtrack stuff for that. And a couple other guys, Colin Nance and Colin Diederich, I think is his last name. Just some really great guys that I've met over the years that did some really awesome soundtrack stuff. And then obviously the movies are all cool too. Skeletons Blu-ray has some really good behind the scenes featurettes and stuff on it. And if you buy the rake from my website instead of going to Walmart or wherever you can find it, you can get a QR code to the behind the scenes featurette, which is about 2 hours long and really showcases a lot of what went into making that film, which I think is good for any independent filmmaker looking to get some, insight into the process. So yeah, recommend checking all that out. And I appreciate anybody going and supporting what we do,
All right. Well, Elena Morales, tell us where we can find you.
I am JukeboxBaby78 on Instagram as well as on TikTok. So if you want to see some of my body paint transformations, some weird special effects makeup, me at the haunt doing stupid stuff like this, trying to talk with dentures in my mouth like a crazy person. That's what I do. You can follow me there. If you want to talk about makeup and possible jobs, I am Elena Marie on Facebook. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. If you want to buy books with my face on them, go to valleyboypublications.com, Charles's website. You can buy Road to Terror with my face on it, and also, excuse me, I just forgot the name of the book.
Midnight Rider.
Right, Midnight Rider. Wow. I did that cover as well, so if you'd like that, and there's t-shirts and also koozies with my face on them there. That's just me.
That's the one I'm buying.
All right. When I update my cash, whatever.
Or when I update my PayPal account.
There you go. And I am Charles Campbell. I'm a small town horror author. You can find me at valleyboypublications.com. You can find me on Instagram under Charles Campbell Author, same under Facebook. We also launched a Horror 421, the podcast Facebook page. So go like and subscribe. If you have any ideas for the show, or if you're an artist, a movie director, anyone that's affiliated with horror or entertainment, and you want to be on a podcast, let us know. Message us, and we'll see if we can get you on the schedule. We'll just make sure that we jive, and if we do, we'll get it rolling. Other than that, that's really all I have to say right now. Thank you again, Tony, for being on the show. And until next time, we'll see you on Horror 421, the podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We hope you had a horrific time, lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to Horror 421, the podcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.